Hello and welcome to the Lift As You Rise show, a show where we help you grow through what we go through. This week, we've got an amazing topic, completely different from the love languages, which we've always addressed, which was coming in 3 episodes. Today, we're going to be talking about a juicy topic called using emotional intelligence in WhatsApp groups. We've got amazing people on the panel. I'm going to get you to quickly introduce yourselves before we start. I'll start with Ashley.
Hello, my name is Ashley. I'm the Terrible owner, and I'll be sharing my ideas and my thoughts on the questions that we have today.
Thank you, Ashley. Next one, Sheila.
Hi, my name is Sheila. I am also the co-owner of Terrible, and I'm glad to be on this show helping present with Gertis, and I'm excited to learn about how emotional intelligence can be used in WhatsApp groups and how it can help me. So very excited, and we have an interesting panel. So yes, can't wait.
Thank you, Sheila. Farai.
Hi, I'm Farai, and very excited to meet my co-panelists. I am all the way from South Africa, and I hope to bring a digital perspective to this conversation.
Excellent. Stu?
Hi, I'm Stu. I'm a part-time model for these guys, and I've come in today to give my opinion with the rest of the panel on how I feel WhatsApp groups, how there's the pros and cons of it, and hopefully I'm here to see if I can learn something new myself.
Thank you. And then the last one, Teresa.
Hi, I'm Teresa. I'm an adult social worker. I'm really excited to be here today just to learn about WhatsApp and emotional intelligence.
Excellent. Thank you so much. It's going to be amazing. I'm so privileged to be surrounded by different perspectives, people from different backgrounds as well. Now, the way it's going to go is we're going to be talking about the benefits of using WhatsApp groups. And then after that, we'll get to the juicy part of it. By public demand, a lot of people have come up with complaints about the way WhatsApp groups are not really working. Now, the aim of this panel is not to discourage you from using WhatsApp groups, but it's for us to come up with some ideas or some nuggets on how we can maximize the use of this amazing feature which Mark Zuckerberg gave us. So we're going to start with the emotional intelligence aspect of it. After that, we'll look at some of the survey findings which we managed to come up with from different people from different parts of the world. And then the panel will be discussing those features, and we'll be trying to come up with why people feel that way and how we can sort of maximize the use of this feature. When it comes to emotional intelligence, we're talking about how we manage our own emotions. Inevitably, when someone is triggered by anything, you're bound to feel a certain way, and you don't choose how you feel. Now, if it's a negative feeling in WhatsApp groups, sometimes people don't even get to communicate that, and yet it just keeps escalating. And in the end, people end up exiting, people end up hating each other, and yet it's an amazing feature we have. So I'm going to hand over to Sheila and start us off with some of the findings from our survey.
Thank you. Yes, so I will go through some of the findings from the survey. Obviously, the survey which took place asked guests 3 questions. What annoys you about WhatsApp groups? Why is this annoying? And how does it make you feel? So those are the 3 questions that we asked people in particular. And these are some of the responses that we got. So I think the best way that we can then do it so that we discuss each one and give it its time that is needed. I will give maybe 3 different responses in one go, and then we will summarize what we got from those 3, and then we'll move on to another 3. We've got about 10 to go through, and then we'll move on to the next part of the show. So one of the responses that we have is there is a pressure to engage with people in the group. There is no personal space. So even if you're in a group with family or friends, this person says they don't feel like there's any personal space. There's also a sense of entanglement in groups, in the sense that people have certain, shall we say, cliques or friendship groups within a group that is open to numerous people. And obviously, the way that makes people feel in terms of the people that responded to those is that they feel left out. They feel victimized sometimes in certain situations, and they don't feel like they form part of the purpose of why that group was created. So perhaps if we can look at the first one, which is there's a pressure to engage within groups. And maybe I'll start off on that one, in the sense of when I look at that comment, there's a pressure to engage. Obviously, that is on different levels what somebody might term as engagement. Sometimes you have WhatsApp groups where everybody says hi every morning. Hi, 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 hi. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And then sometimes you can be the odd person that is the only one that never said good morning out of I don't know how many people. Do you feel pressurized that you must also then join in and say good morning? Maybe you just forgot at the time when the messages came through. Maybe you read them, we're going to say good morning, but by the time it came, it's now afternoon. Is there a pressure sometimes to respond or say certain messages just because a chain of people have said them? Even though maybe at that time you don't personally feel like writing anything. So yeah, I think that's something that we can discuss. The first point, which is a pressure to engage in WhatsApp groups.
Can any one of us relate to that? Let's start with Farai. Have you ever?
Oh my goodness. I really can definitely relate to that. And I think it depends on the group as well. It depends on the group that you actually referring to, because and I think it depends on the relationship you have with these people on the group. If it is a family group, I think, and depending on your relationship with your family, then I think there's not much pressure from that perspective, because they know you well enough. Because some are introverts, so it's not so much that they don't want to say hi, but some people just are withdrawn, and so if your family understands that, then there's no real pressure. Then there are some groups where people don't get you or don't understand you, and you just happen to find yourself on that group. Yeah, those ones, they can be some pressure, because now you want to kind of prove that you are this, how can I put it, nice person, because you're trying to be this person that you actually not. And it's not that you're not a nice person, it's just that you're an introvert. And you're an introvert, and you're not so much that of an engaging person, but that doesn't mean that you have less love for these people. So I think it's really about understanding another person's character and another person's personality. But yeah, I have experienced that from that perspective, where I'm generally not an extroverted person. And so there are those people who are every day it's sunny for them and they must say hi, but it's not so much that my days are not sunny, but I'm just not that of an engaging person at every single moment. Yeah, I think that's my
Thank you.
With that. Yeah.
Yes. What's great about Farai's response is the fact that there's a need for people to understand that there's different types of people. Some people are naturally introverts. Some people are naturally extroverts. So that's where the emotional intelligence aspect comes in. If you understand that this person is an introvert, then maybe you don't expect them to have or to feel that pressure to respond. Let's hear from Teresa, and then after that, Stu, we'll hear from what you have to say, and Ashley. Teresa, I think you need to unmute yourself. Unmute. Yeah. Or Stu, if you're ready, you can go first. And
Hi.
Then...
can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Now we can, yes.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah. Yes. Sorry, I think I've got really bad connection where I am, so I've just turned the camera off.
Oh, that's okay.
I definitely agree. I feel some pressure when I'm in WhatsApp groups to respond. I feel the pressure to open my messages because I don't like having unread messages. But from groups like family groups and the church groups, it's always every day like, hi. And they're not really saying much. It's not really productive. It's just there. And you kind of feel that pressure that you have to respond just to say hi and hi and hi without no purpose. If that was like Facebook message, I wouldn't even respond. I wouldn't even open it. But because it's on WhatsApp, it's more personal. It's your number. You definitely feel that kind of pressure.
Yes. Yes. I really like that. The reason being, you don't really want to let everyone have access to your number. And yet, if you're having to constantly respond all the time and you're having to feel like you have to, I think that's when it gets a little bit.
Absolutely. It's really emotionally draining. It can be emotionally draining if you're not that kind of person.
Yes. Thank you so much. Stu, what do you think? Have you ever felt that way before?
See, no, me as a person, certain groups, like Teresa said, when someone's saying hi and there's not going to be much conversation after it, I kind of feel it's sometimes I just don't have the time to reply back hi when there's going to be no response. Whereas, like, if there's a conversation, there's some groups I will say hi back and then start a conversation, but sometimes there's no conversation to be had. I mean, it could come across as rude as not saying hi, but I just kind of think sometimes if 10 people have said hi and there's nothing back off there, it's just people trying to just show that they're there, like, and sometimes it needs more interaction than just a hi, because you might be saying hi to someone and someone might want to have a conversation back with you, but if you don't engage with them, they're unable to let you know how they're feeling on that day and stuff. So maybe a bit more substance to the conversation other than just hi, like. And like with family groups, as Farai was saying, family groups, they kind of understand how you are, but in a friendship circle, some people in there might just think, oh, he's quite rude, he hasn't said nothing back. But in actual fact, it's, there's got to be no conversation coming back, so that you don't want to waste your own time and other people's time at the same time.
Yep.
Wow. I love that straightforward approach, as in, if there's not going to be substance in what's happening in there, you shouldn't feel pressured to respond. So I bet our viewers will get something from that, or will probably get an understanding on the fact that sometimes that's why people don't respond. Ashley.
Hello. As for me, I mean, with WhatsApp groups and stuff, for me, I tend to, whether it's WhatsApp or it's Instagram, or if it's any of those things, I tend to I basically give every single thing kind of like a time. So I kind of manage myself in terms of like, so for example, the main thing that I do when I get up in the morning, because I used to find myself because of course with having my mom staying in a different place, for example, and other family members, it's difficult for you to message each person as an individual, and for me to then get on with my day, and then after I've got work emails and those are. So the way that I do, I find that the groups sometimes, because I then went and then made a group for of course to be posting certain things just to check on people, the normal family group. Hi, hello, good morning. I don't necessarily expect like a full conversation, but for me, I use that as a sign to know that that person is alive. So if I don't get a message, let's say by daytime, and I've sent a message saying good morning, uh, I'll then start to chase by then. But then from that time, I'll then move on. Then I have to try to monitor my day in a way to where I'm not constantly within the phone and holding it. For sometimes I find that once I hold the phone within the groups, if you say one thing to one person, I may need for me to then explain to 8 other people, for people understand things in a different way, and that's then taking half of my day. So if that's now taking half of my day, I'm now left with having to deal with. I'm now behind with my work, something that I had pre-planned for me to do. So I'm now fighting myself, but in some time I then have to be smiling. I'm then asking myself, but why are you angry? You can control yourself in terms of how you want to feel and what comes your way.
Right.
So how I get on with my day, I choose what comes to me. So my phone can be ringing, my best friend can be calling me. I've been friends with him for 20, 15 years, whatever that it is. But if I planned for me to do something at that time, I'll get what I said I need to do first. Then after once I've then done that, or if it's constant ringing, I'll basically text to say like if it's something, if it's not that important, if you can send a message, because the minute that I put my mind into that thinking, I'm not gonna have the same thinking on the first thing that I was doing. And I'm not a blaming person. I would hate for me to start to blame someone because I didn't get to do this. So I find that for me it's mainly I limit myself before when I didn't see the message, and when I then have time, I'll give the best that I can when I have time for me to check within those groups. It may not be the best response, but I will be there in terms of showing that, yeah, I was engaging. And that's when more time, when I didn't get for me to then approach, I wouldn't just call one person, whoever that was trying to reach out within those groups. It depends what kind of a group it is. But the family one, that's the family one, and of course business, then work. I'll make sure that I check those things and try to find a way where I'm actually getting time to actually observe what's actually going on. For I need to think about what I'm saying before it comes out. For that's how people would then see of me or think of me. So I do think about it. I have meetings within myself in my head. But with the WhatsApp groups, that's just take your time. You just like seclude yourself from stuff that can divert your attention. Then of course still respond, but if people, it's a complicated one because some people may not know you, so they might take it as rude. But I also do appreciate tough love if someone would come to me directly and of course approach me and say, listen, why weren't you engaging on that? Then they can get to see my side as well. Then, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's how
I just want to respond to you. Actually, I think the one thing that has come out from you that has stuck out for me is when you said, to check if someone is alive. And I think that's very, very important. I know I agree with Stewie about the, if the high has no purpose, then then I'm not obliged to respond.
Yeah.
But if it's a family group, on the other hand, so for me, it still goes down to what kind of group is it? If it's a family 100%. Group and it's a hi with no other response, I don't mind just saying hi and there's no response. That's so my family know that I'm alive, because in the times that we're living in, it's important, and we're all living in very different parts of the world, and it's important that they know that I'm alive. But if it's a group that doesn't require me and it's just a hi, then I don't feel I need to respond, because but if it's my family, then if it's my family, then it's different.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Sheila, have you got anything to add on to it, or before we move on?
I think everyone has actually said everything that I've said. I think the key thing that we can learn from this particular one is that it depends if people know you on a personal level for that pressure to be removed. So it's always key when you're entering into groups to know your position and know where you fit in and know how you fit in around the people that are in that group. And if you all know each other, then obviously there is no pressure. But how you then manage a group when you don't necessarily know each other, again, maybe Ashley's point of then having time management, where you choose a particular time where you would choose to respond, not that you ignore, but you put time aside to respond, maybe the best way if it's a group where it's not your family members. So there is a balance. I think everybody's given answers, so I don't have anything else to add myself. We can move on to some of the other ones. I mean, there's loads. We spent a lot on that one, so I don't know if we'll get through all of them. These are all a bit juicy, but I'll pick out the best ones that I can see going forward. So the next one I have is people who post unrelated stuff on the group or post and forward chain emails, chain conversations, or something that's totally unrelated.
The juicy one. Who wants to start commenting on that one?
I love the way we all laugh, because I think it's kind of very common for all of us.
You see, for that one, I don't know, because it's like I created a group, like because we can't go into.
Yes, of course.
So within this group, I think the group, it was motivation and wellness.
Yes.
So within this group, you'd kind of expect like positive things for them to be posted within this group. Then after that, then I kept on getting like, when you're getting people posting stuff that's completely irrelevant, it's like it was negative rather than the positive. Then to wait, of course, but then it was then difficult for me to then put my point across. Can you please remember the name of the group? Because I was now then after being judged as like, I mean, I don't know, innit? Like it's if like I'm better than everyone and I'm too serious. But yeah, which is the way it's I don't know. But for me personally, I think I just ended up just leaving, not taking things too personal. But then the point of the group, I just told myself it would still be what it is, but you can't stop people from posting certain things within there. And to leave the group, it seems like you are offended in some way, to where you feel in some type of way, and I don't hold grudge. So it's a complicated one, but I guess that's why we're here. We'll get to learn how to move forward on that.
Yes, what I'm hearing from what you're saying is if a group has a purpose and people don't stick to it, that's bound to cause more problems in the group. Okay?
Right.
It is.
That's true. What do you think about this? Do you ever experience this in the WhatsApp groups you have? Or
yeah, I've been in a few groups where we've got a set group. There's the groups actually set out for a certain thing, but then like you start receiving random, like people start sending these messages where if you send them to 50 people, you get new emojis on your phone, and I'm like, it's not relevant. It's not that when your phone goes off and you pick it up to read a message, if you look at that and you're like, well, that's just wasted a bit of my time. It's like, it's kind of, there's been times where I've left the group because there's that much going on. And then when someone comes to me personally and privately and says, oh, how come you've left? I said, look, this is a situation, like, we should keep it to what it is. I said, no one's actually offended me. It's just, I don't see the point in join another group if you want to talk about the stuff you're sending. But if a group's
straight to the point.
Like, yeah, rather than going off topic, and because then you get loads of conversations. It's like that's not what the group's actually for. You have other groups for them certain things.
I think on that one, one thing that I think you taught me, Gertis, leading up to this show and WhatsApp groups. I don't know if everybody on this platform is aware of this, but when you do set up a WhatsApp group, I think at the stage when you add the people, and if you've ever been an admin, I happen to be queen admin for quite a few groups actually. But one thing I wasn't aware of is that if you set up a WhatsApp group at the stage when you're adding people, there's where you put the name of the group, whatever the group is about, there's a section where you can write the objectives of what the group is about, and that remains as part of the group. So when someone clicks on it, when it says there's this many members, these are the people who've joined, that remains as the objective of the group and stays there. I didn't know that, and I actually scrolled through probably 25 of the groups that I'm part of, and only one has actually got any objectives written on it. So I think that's an interesting thing that people don't realize in terms of that feature, that when you write a group, you can write the reason why the group has been set up. Because yes, I think the thing is, people forget, if you start off a group, let's say, especially in friendship circles, if you start off a group that was for Sheila's 30th birthday, that group just remains there. I mean, I've got groups that were from birthday parties from like 5 years ago. They're just there. And then they change and you change the name and it's now Lauren's birthday. And then it changes and then it becomes so-and-so's barbecue at her house. But then as times keeps on changing, we're not necessarily reviewing the people in there. Maybe others are being added on. And now the initial reason why that group started is total loss of purpose. It's just being recycled. But the people in there are not necessarily the mutual people that should have been there. And that's how I think you then get to the point where people are sending whatever they want to send, because to them, that group has no real value or purpose anymore, because it's got people that weren't there for the initial reasons, and it's been renovated and changed names and all sorts of things as time has gone on.
I like the word renovation on the WhatsApp groups, and it's so true. I can relate to that. Teresa, what do you think of this?
I think sometimes, it's, for example, the people that are sending the chain messages, I think are people that don't really understand what WhatsApp is for. Or I think are people that can be quite lonely and maybe they don't know how to converse, because it's not possible to send that many chain messages within a day, within a week. And I think maybe, like looking at it from another angle, maybe it's just them trying to start a conversation. As opposed to them just trying to irritate or be annoying. But I do think I find it mostly, and I don't want to generalize, but it is with, older women who will then send messages about, church, or send messages about various things. I'm sorry, guys, I didn't mean to generalize, but I just think they don't understand the concept of WhatsApp. Or they get scared easily and think somebody's going to struck them down if they don't send a message.
Oh, that's a powerful point. So do you think people need to be told? I mean, how do you tell people, apart from the descriptions, without offending them if they're sending unnecessary messages? Because I don't think someone would actually do that to be spiteful. Do you think? It's true.
I don't think they're being spiteful.
Yeah. So why do you think people do that? As in when they end up sending irrelevant messages, what do you think will be going on in their heads, and what sort of response are they expecting to get after sending that? Does anyone have something to say on this question or answer?
Oh, God.
Yes, you.
I think a lot of it, because they might be in a separate group to not the group you're in, and like 10 people have sent the chain message in that group. They feel then obliged to continue it on. Otherwise, someone in their other group will be like, well, why haven't you sent the message? We've all sent it. So it's kind of like they're just following a trend sort of thing. So they might actually not see it as doing harm, but the other group they're sending it to might not like them. So it's kind of like they may be pressured from another group, which then in turn, like, they shouldn't feel pressured at all. It's their own choice whether they want to send it or not.
Oh, that's an interesting point. Ashley?
Yeah.
I'm actually still stuck. Like I'm just observing everything. Yeah.
Okay, because what I personally find a little bit negative about too many messages would be, say you're in a group that's meant to have a purpose, and then taking an example myself, I'm a mom of 3 and I've got a full-time job that's extremely demanding, as I have to work after work and before work. So for me to have time to check my WhatsApp messages, it's got to be like limited time, because in the meantime, my children need me for homework or whatever. So if it's a group that's meant to have a purpose, and I'm checking at the end of the day, and there's 500 messages, and within the 500 messages, maybe message number 470 is the one that's relating to the group. Before I even start scrolling through the amens, praise God, whatever it is, I'm already wasting time. And like what Stu said, or like all of you said, then it sort of lacks substance once it gets to that point. So I think, yes, it is a general concern. So what do you think should be done, apart from it being in the description? Because people are not doing it. Even groups that's got descriptions, you still find a lot of people doing that. What do you think should be done to solve this?
I think if you are mature enough to actually start a WhatsApp group, you should be able to carry it through and have the responsibility to manage the WhatsApp group. So you must understand that when you start the WhatsApp group, it is a full-time responsibility. And therefore, you need now to do all those follow-ups. You can't start the WhatsApp group and then let go of responsibility. I think basically that's what it is. I think the onus is on the admin person and not on everyone else, because you're the one who's brought those people on. So the moment it's much like having a child. The moment you have the child, you know that it comes with responsibility. When you buy a car, the moment you buy that car, it's nice to drive, yes, but it's got a responsibility. You have to service the car. So the moment you start a WhatsApp group, the onus is on you to make sure that the purpose of that group is kept in check. So I think personally, I don't have that issue with. I think I'm lucky in that most of the groups I'm on, I don't have groups that have too many random. In fact, I have groups that have a lot of messages, but they are for what the group is meant for. I think so. I don't really have that problem. But I think if you are the one who sets out to start a WhatsApp group, then you must carry through the responsibility and make sure you manage the WhatsApp group.
Wow, interesting. In addition to what you're saying, I think I also want to add on to the fact that the way you can do it is if your expectations are clear, as in you've got the rules like what Sheila said, and those rules are clear, and maybe you've got your admins who can sort of remind people on what to do. And part of the rules is probably stating that admins should be able to remind you without you feeling offended. I think that's always
exactly.
Because then if anyone is to have a problem with that, you can always refer back to rule number 7, which says an admin has a right.
Rule number 7. Yeah, I think to back yourself up, then do have the objectives, so that when the person joins, the objectives are already there. You're not bringing in the objectives midway through. You can't suddenly change rules or change goalposts when you feel like it. So at the beginning, at the onset of the group, have everything in place so that you've got something to back you up and to,
it's an interesting take on this because my views are I'm a bit scrambled at the moment, because when we're speaking about it like this, I see the logic in it. And what Farai said is something that's very interesting, that I don't think a lot of admin take on that responsibility, depending on what the objective is. I don't think everybody who's an admin in every group realizes that they are responsible for the notion of where that group goes. And I think this then falls into the situation of WhatsApp, whether it's seen as a professional platform or purely social platform, because when you have the crossover between WhatsApp being used for semi-professional reasons and then social being used for like the total opposite, like doing absolute naughty business, like doing parties and whatever, you then have the mixed values of what exactly is the standard. Because if you're organizing a birthday party, if I'm saying to all my girls we're having a spa day on Friday, I don't expect that I have to have responsibility over how people behave in the group. But then if I then go set up another group, which is, to do with the event or conference I'm having, or even if we set up a group, let's say for this chat that we were having today, it's not the same attitude that I should have as a group that I've set up with a group of my friends. But we just take it lax because WhatsApp is a social function. It doesn't come across as anything formal. So admin and people who are admins, I think that's a key point that Farai makes. I don't think they always realize that they have that. And sometimes, in particular in my situation, as I said, I am admin for a few groups. It's not because I've even set them up. Sometimes somebody is an admin and makes 5 other people admin because they think that they are capable of being responsible for what's going on in that conversation or that group. So you can end up having 5 admins, but not all of you necessarily at that time agreed that you are going to be managing this group. You just happen to be also made a sub-admin. And that's where things can then become difficult, because if the main person who made it fell off and then the other admins are still there, who's responsible for for keeping things going when you weren't the person who had the original purpose, but you're left there as the last remaining admin.
Okay. Stu, what do you think should be done? Okay. Oh, sorry. Yeah. What do you think?
Oh no, I was just gonna say that a WhatsApp group is a mini is a microcosm of the bigger picture. So in any country, you have a government with a president, and there are rules. There's a constitution. It's got to be followed. So WhatsApp group is a reflection of that, because no matter where you are when you're dealing with people, it's that's just the way it is. And so much as, you know, maybe the admins might find it's a lot of responsibility, it's just the way that they, even in a family, you always have to have some sort of hierarchy. There's the father and the mother who make the rules. So no matter where you are, and I think this platform today is possibly what's going to maybe be an eye-opener for some of the admin people, because like Sheila said, she wasn't aware, or, you know, that, you know, I have to be, oh my gosh, I'll just create a group and there it is. But maybe this is what this will do for some admin people, that they will start realizing that it actually comes with a certain level of responsibility. And I must admit, I also need to do the same thing. I also need to make sure I have some, you know, carry through my responsibilities.
I like what you're saying, Farai, because I mean, lift as you rise means we're learning from each other. Whatever we're saying, we're learning from each other, and we're learning as we're going. Stu, what do you think should be done? I mean, what advice do you think you can give for us to manage these emotional roller coasters happening in the WhatsApp groups, apart from having clear expectations for the group? And also, we did mention about the admins taking that responsibility in managing the groups. What else do you think should be done?
Other than like maybe the admins knowing their role, like obviously you've got the person that made the group. But let's say, for instance, I made a group and I said to Ash, right, do you want to be admin? And he says, yeah. If I let him know what expectations I have of him as an admin, then nothing can be misconstrued then, because he knows his role in there, so he can kind of like govern what's going on if I'm not doing it. If everyone's kind of knows their place, then it can kind of like help everyone understand where the group's going and stuff like that.
Okay, thank you. One of the issues which came up was, I think we had about 4 people commenting about the fact that they get added without consent. And as a result, that's where the pressure comes from, when they're having to be forced to say something, when they weren't even consulted or notified that they were going to be added in the group. What do you think of that? That came up from almost everybody who answered the survey. And I don't think those people would have actually aired it out to the admins who added them in, which is why we've got this platform. Who else? Who has something to comment on that?
I think this one is probably the biggest of the issues in WhatsApp groups. I would sooner have multiple messages, 407 messages, like you mentioned, Gertie, than to be forced to be on a WhatsApp group. I would sooner, deal with those issues than that, where now I don't know how to leave because I'm just not feeling this group, and it's tough because maybe the person who's the admin and has added you on is someone,
respect,
a very sensitive person, or someone that you respect, or so it's a tough one. But I think my advice is not so much about the people in the group, but for the admin, back to the admin again. And I think the admin must be courteous enough to, of course, there's that function from a technical perspective. There's a function where you can actually, set it on your privacy settings so that whenever someone wants to add you to a group, they have to ask you first, right? Which is good that
I
it's
agree
there.
to that, yeah.
But now we are talking about where that before that function came in, because I think that function is only about 8 months old or so.
I didn't
But
even
now we're talking about groups that you were on before that function came in. How do you leave? So I think it's back to the admins to actually open it up every now and then and say, guys, the purpose of the group was this when we started it. If there are people who still feel that they want to leave, please leave. By all means, I am not going to feel, because for me, it's about the person who's, I feel bad. Like this person put me on this group, but I don't want to be on this group anymore. And I feel I'm going to offend that person. So it's back to the admin again. I must feel that I must, at intervals, guys, are we enjoying the group? Are you happy? Really, it's about the admin person. That's me. It's about the admin person. You know, you need to manage it. You've taken on this responsibility, so manage it. That's just me. I'm sorry, but it's about the admin person. Eventually, I mean, Sorry, I'm getting emotional, but that's
it's an
emotional intelligence.
Emotional intelligence show, by the way. So feel free to get emotional. You're allowed to do that.
Because that one for me is my biggest thing, where I can't leave. So like I said, I would sooner have 500 unrelated messages than being in a group where I'm stuck. I feel stuck. I don't know what to do.
The thing is, for me, I think where I then find the difficulty, and obviously I'm also here to learn exactly what is it in us as humans that makes us feel like we are stuck? Because technically it is a button that you can leave. Worst case scenario, if someone's offended, they can call you and say, why did you leave? And you can explain for yourself, oh, I just didn't feel like being there anymore. Or, you know, even if you wish you like, if you want to lie, oh, it's taking up too much of my battery, or I can't, you know, technically speaking, as a human, you are in control of what response you give for why you left. So why is it that we feel so much of a bondage to not leave in the first place, rather than just dealing with the consequences of what will be done after we've left? Because no one is there at that moment in time stopping you from leaving. And in fact, what you can do is leave and save yourself all the messages if that's what you don't want. And you can actually then be in control of who then comes to you and asks you why you left, because then that will be outside the group. That will be individual people messaging you. And then you can choose to say to that person, oh, I left for this reason. Even if it takes you 3 days to respond to the other person, that's not going to be as visible as you just leaving the group.
That's a powerful
I hear you, powerful, yes.
That's a powerful insight, Sheila. And what I like about this show, being emotional intelligence, if you know yourself, you know what works for you. You know what's best for you. And I think that's the initial step. That should drive you, whether you want to communicate before you leave, but the minute you know that you want to leave, I think if you know that you're not doing it for bad intentions or whatever it is, there's no reason for you to be trapped. It was quite painful to see most of the responses mentioning the word trapped. In describing how staying there is not good, and yet leaving is not good either. So most people were like, I feel trapped, especially with some of these family groups, because according to the quotation, if I leave, I'm going to offend people. If I stay, I'm going to offend people. So I think if you know yourself and you know your intentions, I think one of you mentioned about the fact that people who really know you, they won't take offense from that same group, because they will know that you're not a spiteful person. You wouldn't do that. And those people matter. I'm not saying those who don't know you don't matter, but sometimes you can only do so much in terms of explaining yourself to people, but that shouldn't stop you from being yourself and from doing the things that you want to do when it comes to this. If someone is brave enough to come into your inbox and say, why did you leave? Stu had the perfect answer. You can explain it to them. If they don't come to you, that's okay. But what matters is you've done what you want to do and you're feeling better. And maybe the only problem would be How would you do it without offending people if it's something that you can control? I don't know if anyone has a response to that.
When you say how would you do it without offending people, are you talking when you just leave the group?
How do you just leave and
But
not
then
offend people? Or can you do that? If you can't, how are you going to manage yourself? If you feel
The thing
bad,
is,
think
emotional
because you
intelligence
can't.
then comes into this again because, you know, there's so many levels of emotions that are going through the whole concept of a WhatsApp group. The problem is if you just leave, again, you may offend some people who will come to you and say, why did you leave? It's a matter for you how you then deal with those people. But then if you also decide to make an announcement that you wish to leave and then you bring all this attention to your departure, there may be others that feel like, why did you need to draw attention to the fact that you're leaving the group? Like, why didn't you just leave? Why have you written a paragraph? Guys, it's been lovely being in this group, but I've decided I'm now going to exit because of whatever reason. So thank you. But do you expect everyone to then say bye before you then click the leave button?
Yeah, we're gonna
If
have a
you,
party.
Yeah.
so you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. I'm not sure what the right way to leave actually
No, right?
is.
It's a hard one. That one is my biggest one. That's,
These-
I think if I had taken part in the survey, I'd be one of those people.
No, like like you can't also please every single person as well. So, I mean, of course, whichever. I mean, like what I'm not sure who was saying it. If someone then, of course, really needed you for them to be, let's say, like within the group of 50, most probably the one that was really bothered, they'll approach you somehow. But then you can't make everyone happy because
yes.
by the time you've then done that, you were feeling some type of a way yourself. Then to where even for you to remain in the group, it's even
Yeah.
worse. Especially when you
Mhm.
know that you spoke to one of the ladies or one of the gentlemen within that group, and he was an awkward one. Then
Mhm.
after to where they made you feel like, why would you want to leave? This is good stuff for you. This is
Yes.
some good manifestation program. It's gonna help you. You need it. But then after now, you've now spoken like your point, and to where you understand the point, but then at that point in your life, that's not what you want
Mm.
to hear. It's nothing personal, but then you also need to respect yourself as well, because if you're not
Mm.
respecting yourself, then it feels like you're now spending the time for you to impress everyone, but you're now losing yourself as well. So
Exactly.
you
Exactly.
you're better off. I mean, of course, it's gonna. I know a lot of people. I'm not saying just leaving is the right thing to do. No, it's not. But then at the same time, you can't please 80% of 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 what's currently going on. But unless if it's a group to where you feel, oh, I can't leave due to other reasons, it benefiting you in any other way, but the
Mhm.
messages that are getting too much because you want to be there, but then you can't always, if it doesn't require you responding and 24/7, supposedly maybe you can mute it, but you can mute the group. But then what's then the point of you having the group if it's muted for the year? So that's when you're just better off just leaving the group. Then of course, I believe whatever that you need for you to know will always come to your door anyway, regardless. So whatever that I have missed, somewhere within the universe, that whatever piece of information will come to me, and maybe I may rejoin something that would then be more maybe purposeful to what I
Mm.
was going. It's not disrespect to the previous one, but
Yeah.
we all go at different stages in life,
Yeah.
to where you're gonna join different groups.
Mm.
There's the same way you've got there's I don't know, there's so many different groups that are the same, but it's just how someone delivers the message. The same way,
Mm.
so suppose that goes back to admin again. The same way you can get so many different teachers, but it can take you the 25th teacher for you to understand what's
Right.
1 plus 1. Then you then
Mm.
get the two. But it's no
Mm.
offense. It's not of being offensive to anyone or disrespecting anyone or I'm better than you or I say things. No, it's nothing like that at all. It's just different stages in life, and
Yeah.
just learning. And it's also learning for those people that didn't get offended. They just need to learn not to take things personal. As I think when you're grown, you shouldn't really take things personal. For you know
Yeah.
in
They just,
life, you
yeah.
just have to kind of get on and understand both sides. And that's what keeps it moving, or else you're then gonna be stuck within your feelings.
So actually, I should just leave them. Basically, is that
Uh,
what you're saying to me?
I would say you come out. I mean, of course you come out, because you basically come out. Because me personally, I don't like stress in my life, innit? So it's like,
Right.
because the minute that I start thinking about so stuck on within something, that then I'm now, it's not, I'm gonna be stuck. I'll be living my life, but I'm gonna be stuck feeling like I owe someone something. And I don't
Right.
ever want to make me feel like I owe someone something. As much as, yeah, you was a big group, I was interested at that time, but I've got my portion that I needed from that group for me to then excel in whatever that I joined the group purpose for. Because
Wow.
if I get to know too much in one go, I might not be even able for me to then even, whatever reason that I joined for that group, I might not be able to even do the 1%. Let me learn what I need to know, put it into action. Okay, of whatever that I've then done, the next time when I'm coming in, maybe I can actually, be more like, okay, I can engage in that. I've got that there. I'm gonna be then dropping facts, not just facts, because sometimes we can talk about things, but then you also want to see the evidence of those things actually happening. So for me, once I've taken a bit there, I'll then come back maybe within the group at some point where I feel like, okay, I can actually maybe engage, and this is actually relating to me now. If another group doesn't do that for me, but remember, it's nothing personal. It's
So
Wow.
all
maybe
learning from
the
like both sides.
season is over. So we have to
Yeah.
understand that the season is over. This
Yeah,
is
yeah,
what
yeah,
you
yeah.
mean. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
The reason in the season.
Yes.
There was a
Yeah,
reason for it, and there was a season. I mean, it was
yeah.
as well. Okay, I'm just realizing that this is such a broad topic, and
It
we could
is.
be here all night.
Right.
However, just to get towards the end of the show, I want to hear what your views are, because we were looking at the views from the survey. So if you can add on to what your views are about the WhatsApp groups and what can be done, what do you think can be done to alleviate some of those, if it's a problem or if it's an advantage, just give it as like words of advice. Who wants to start? Let's start with Stewie. We haven't heard from you in a long time.
I think maybe basically when if it's like that, you need to kind of weigh up your options, see what if you can bring something to a group or not. Then you need to look at, okay, what can I bring? Because if you're going in there and you're not putting anything productive in there, and the group doesn't necessarily bring anything to you, then potentially there's no point in you being there. So I think you need to sit back and if you look at the group and you think, okay, maybe this isn't for me. Whoever added you to the group, you could maybe contact them directly and say, look, I don't think it's for me. I'm not able to add anything of value to it, and I don't feel I'm getting anything valuable from it. So I'm just going to be wasting my own time and other people's time. That way, it's you shouldn't be offending no one then, because you've spoke up and you said, look, this is my views on it. I'd rather you be speaking to people that are going to be able to take advice from it. And at the same time, I'd like to think that if I'm in a group, I can give some sort of advice and people are going to listen rather than me speak and someone be like, that don't relate to anything. So it's kind of like, make sure everyone's on the same page sort of thing. And, like I said, as adults, we should be able to speak between ourselves and realise there's not an issue and no one should take offence. Everyone's got their own views and stuff like that. So, maybe if communication is key. If you just leave a group, then there's potential like, oh, hang on, why is he left? So if you contact an admin and say, look, I'm going to leave the group because of this. It's no offence to anybody in there. Then at least you've told them. And then when you leave, if someone does bring up the fact, oh, Shu's left the group, it's the admin's job then to say, no, he's contacted me direct and these are his views. He's not wanted to offend nobody. He just feels that it wasn't for him. So maybe communication, a big communication is key.
That's so powerful.
Back to the admin. Back to that.
Yeah, back to the admin again. Yeah, they've got to be the overall.
The admin needs to be doing his job.
The rules.
No, that's very powerful and very insightful. I'm personally going to use that. And what I like, which is perfect for the emotional intelligence aspect of it, is you've sort of directed it towards yourself, as in, I don't think I'll add value to that group. So that way already you're taking the aspect of offense, as in they personally want to be offended.
I kind of feel you're taking some responsibility for yourself then as well. So it's not you're not putting the responsibility on someone else. You're taking it's 50-50 then.
Yes, I really like that. Thank
like
you
that.
so much. That's so powerful. I'm
I like
personally
that.
going to use that. I'm going to try that.
Okay,
Okay.
great. You'd have to let me know how you get on with it.
Oh, yes, definitely. I'll definitely keep you posted. Yeah. Sheila.
Yeah, I don't think I've got anything to add in terms of anything extra. I think what I have learned today is obviously it's important to know yourself and what purpose you serve in any particular group. It's good to know the reason why you're in a group and understand the surroundings of the people that you're with. And obviously, me as an admin on certain groups, I've felt the sword being sharpened on me. That maybe there's certain groups that I need to go back and write a message to say, guys, I'm just going to remove this group because it no longer serves its purpose. In particular, if it's groups that have been dormant, as in no one has spoken in them for 6 months. It's something that I can do as admin and say, oh, guys, we've not spoken for a while. Obviously, this was set up for so-and-so's birthday, but I'm just going to delete the group. That way, if you delete the group, no one is obliged to leave. Because sometimes I think as admins don't take responsibility of deleting groups. They keep them until everybody's left, until the last person, which there's no reason to do that. If it's genuinely no longer serving its purpose, an admin can just delete the group and it will be gone. People don't need to leave from it. So I think it's definitely a good message to put out that people need to take admin responsibilities seriously, and then they can manage, not to say they have all the responsibility, but unfortunately they do have a large responsibility to manage the emotions of things that are going on in that group, to manage how different people feel, to make sure that, if someone posts something inappropriate, that they are the ones that come in and are ready to respond before somebody else who's not admin looks like they're attacking. So yeah, I think learning a lot about, how as an admin you can be responsible for managing that situation, because ultimately what you can't do is set up a group for a purpose. People start, bickering, rowing or whatever in there, and then you take a back seat and say, oh, actually, no, nothing to do with me. You guys argue away and there's people falling out. Everything is becoming disruptive. You need to be able to intervene at a certain point to say, okay, guys, this is no longer inappropriate. I'm going to just delete the group. Even if everybody's angry, but at least everybody can just be angry at one person, then people being indirectly angry at each other. Just end it. If you see that there's a very inappropriate argument taking place or whatever, guys, I'm just going to delete this group for now. I'll reset it up once we are back on board with what's going on. Then behind the scenes, people can resolve whatever issues they have, rather than everything kind of going on WhatsApp, and then there's like quietness. And then those that don't speak are thinking, so how did it end? Did the argument end? Can we say good morning tomorrow? Or is there still tension? Like all of those things can just be removed if whoever started it could take a bit of control as to what was going on. So yeah, learn a lot there.
Okay, Farai.
I think I echo Sheila's sentiments. I'm still very pro admin as the manager, I do know, obviously, from my perspective, I've said to you, there are groups that I want to leave. I'm not an admin in them, but I want to leave. But if the I think the admin themselves should get to a place where they do, health checks, how checking in, guys, are you okay? Is this still especially if it's a dormant group or a group that communicates, not as often as it should, then you should know that when you start a group, it's big responsibility. It's to me, it's much like, I think, going back to the analogy of the family. You can't go and get married and start a family and have kids and then sit back and say the kids are just going to feed themselves. You have to get up, go to work, change the nappies, take to school, pay the school fees. Are you okay? Make sure the child is emotionally okay. You gotta be part and proactive about it. So I still go back to the admin aspect, and I think if all admins globally started being more proactive, I think we would have better WhatsApp groups. Seriously.
Wow, thank you. What's just come into my mind when you were talking about admins is there are times when you become admin by default because the person who started the group decided to leave after an argument or whatever. And then what WhatsApp does is whoever they added first automatically becomes admin. What do you think of situations like that? As in, how
sorry to
Yeah.
to cut you off before you finish.
No, that's okay.
But I think at that point, then there is no group because you didn't start it. It's not your vision.
So
it's like Terry Ball comes and then I start running with. He started it. I didn't start the vision, so I can't run with something that's not my vision. So if the admin person leaves, I think there should be an unwritten law or unwritten rule that if admin leaves, then the group is done, unless it's a family group.
Okay.
If it's a family group, it's different, I think. But if it's any other group that's not family, then that should be the unwritten rule.
Okay, thank you. I think that goes back to what Sheila and Stu were saying about communication. As in for that person as well, if they feel that they want to dissolve the group because all of a sudden they've just woken up an admin to a group they didn't set up, then maybe if they do communicate to say, listen, guys, this group is no longer working. And because I didn't start it, I think it makes sense for us to just delete it. It's not serving its purpose.
Right.
Okay, that's very insightful. Ashley.
No. Personally, I think what I've learned is, of course, when you create a group, if you're the admin, to mainly, of course, I was learning a few things within the groups I have created. I don't have many, but the ones that I have, maybe to actually take full responsibility and put in an actual objective rather than just an heading of what the group is, but what's actually expected for it to be followed and then to be reviewed. To actually check to see what's the purpose. Are we actually are we moving forward, or is it, is it a hangout? And it's mainly put in the actual objective for me. As normally when I create a group, there isn't any of it. I'll put mainly like a little, of course, what the group is for, but that's just at the top. But then that's in terms of then after monitoring can kind of go by what I want to hear from it. But then they are ones that where even when the thing hasn't happened, it then just became just a hi, hello group. That group should be closed for. It's not about that no more. Rather than because you only want to keep speaking about that same old thing, like, oh, maybe next year we'll do the same. But that one needs to get closed for you to think fresh, or else you're gonna feel like you owe someone an explanation for the memory that they're trying to reminisce on.
Yeah.
And maybe and some memories maybe you're trying to delete.
Move
forward, so 100%. Some groups need for them to get closed, to move forward. So that's what I've learned from my side.
I'm learning a lot from you guys, and I would say one of the most important things I'm going to take away from this episode is the communication, because I'm one person who's always in the terraces because of my personal pressures. But then the emotional intelligence aspect of it is the fact that sometimes you offend people by doing that. But then it's always important to know yourself to an extent where you're able to do what makes you feel good without worrying about what people are thinking, because you can't control what the other people think, especially if it's a whole group and people who don't even know you and you're trying to control or to make them feel good by compromising being yourself. Anything else before we come to the end of the show? Does anyone have anything to comment or any nuggets that they've taken away from this? I've just shared mine with you.
The thing I've learned from this is the group, a lot of responsibility comes down to the admin. So from now, when I'm part of a group, if I become an admin, I know I've got a specific role that I need to play and I need to make sure stuff's getting done rather than just being a free-for-all. I think there should be whoever's leading the group, now I know we need more responsibility, not just sitting back and letting everyone have a free-for-all.
Wow, you're right. The way you've articulated it made me think, as an admin, you've got the power to do whatever the group needs to be doing. So if you don't do anything, we've got groups which have been there for 10 years because the admins are not doing anything and they're no longer working. but no
It's
one is.
also it should be the admin's job to kind of like keep everyone going, to keep the motivation going and stuff like that. Because you know, like on Facebook you have groups and the admins, you know, when people they're there and they kick people out and stuff like that. And I think, you know, in groups, if you get added, some people don't know other people, and if someone gets offended by something, it's the admin's job to kind of like raise that. Because let's say we were all in a WhatsApp group and I said something that offended one of you guys, you might not want to approach me, but you should be able to approach the admin and say, look, this has been said, I don't like the way it's been approached. Then the admin can say, okay, and then the admin can speak to that person and say, look, you need to come across a bit better, because some people might take offence to it. So it's kind of like everyone needs to play the part and be a bit more, you know, outspoken about stuff.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Maybe there needs to be a separate training session. Obviously, Farai does some training and digital training. Maybe there needs to be a whole
little bit
training
of that
session
side,
on admin and
Why
WhatsApp
not?
groups, because I don't think it's known, and you know, we could solve a lot of problems. You know, and I think we take it lightly, but they are families that are being broken by miscommunication. WhatsApp groups. They are friendship groups where words are being thrown that should never be thrown, just because of things on WhatsApp, and it's breaking societies and families and things that are actually fundamental to our everyday life, just because of an inability to manage the situation. So maybe it is something that genuinely, you know, Mark Zuckerberg obviously didn't need to necessarily take all this into account, but obviously it's become a sub-factor of this function in this app. And maybe there does need to be some sort of training to say, you know, these things are inappropriate, these things are appropriate. And if you decide to be admin and put yourself as a pedestal on such a platform, then you are responsible for how you manage that. Because, you know, if there's racism, bullying, or any of those things that happen, really, you know, nobody's taking accountability for that. But if you are an admin, that's where you then have to step in and not just sit on the sideline watching when there's things that are emotionally or mentally affecting other people within the group. So yeah, it's something that I think we need to take seriously, 100%. And it's been great to have this conversation. And hopefully when people look back and watch the YouTube recording, a lot of people will be able to channel into their own self and see where they fit in. You know, are they just a member? Are they an admin? And how can they take something away from this based on whatever groups they are in?
Wow. Oh, that's very emotional, and that's so true as well. There's a lot going on, and we might actually undermine it, but there's a lot going on, and there is a real need for those issues to be addressed. Anyway, remember, we did say the purpose of this is to see how we can maximize the use of the WhatsApp groups. So just as a quick reminder and a conclusion at the same time, I want you to just think of one positive thing about a WhatsApp group or your ideal WhatsApp group.
I'll give one positive thing. It's an audit trail, which is good in some sense for certain things. If you're organizing something, it's a good way of keeping an audit trail for your own self of what you have agreed with other people, etc. So, you know, rather than sometimes phone conversations, things can be lost in conversation, or we can forget what we said in the conversation. But at least if it's a conversation you've managed to have on WhatsApp, it's something that you can refer to for your own personal life and have an audit trail of, you know, this person's confirmed that they're coming to my birthday dinner, or there's this many people coming. It's easier to do those things on WhatsApp than calling every person. Are you coming? Are you coming? Are you coming? So in that purpose, it does serve time. It's a good audit trail, and it keeps obviously information unless you delete it.
Wow, amazing. Anyone else with one good thing? Yeah.
I would say pretty much the same. It is a good way, of course, of tracking what was said, and you know, because sometimes when things are said verbally, you can't go back for you to check what was said verbal. But within that, it's a good way of communicating, especially with people back home. For back in the day, it was writing a letter, so I would say it's good in that sense that it makes it feel like people are closer to you. If you're talking about people back home in Zim, maybe here we actually abuse it we WhatsApp when we live next door to each other. But the main concept of using it if you send a messages from people back home, not just back home but all around the world, you feel connected in that sense. And within other groups, you don't need for you to to actually provide your actual number for it. It's good for so many different. It's also for business as well.
Wow, thank you. Anyone else with one positive to say about WhatsApp groups, despite what we were talking
I'd say like a good positive, like Ashley Sheila said. Obviously, there is you can keep track of things, but then other stuff, it's just nice to know you've got that contact with people there and then, like, so you're not stuck and you're not alone. Because some people, especially through the pandemic, they felt alone. So WhatsApp is a nice way to be able to get to know those people around the world, or your friends that live 5 minutes away. At least there's always that constant communication there.
Absolutely, 100%. I agree with you. Anyone else before we close the show?
I think for me, it's also a good. I think it's really it's perceived to be free, but it's not free because you use data.
Oh, yeah.
But it is a cheaper way of communicating. I think we're going to talk, a positive, I guess, from a financial perspective. It is a cheaper way of reaching your family members across the globe, because to really get a calling card is way more expensive. To chat to someone for 50. You can speak to actually have a phone call with someone for an hour, which ordinarily would cost you an arm and a leg to just do 5 minutes, So I think that's one of the positives, I think, as well.
And even a video call if you're lucky.
Oh, yes.
Well, if it's
depending
not,
on
no
the bandwidth.
latency.
Depending on the bandwidth, I think a video call as well. Then you can actually really see the person. So I think that would be a positive for me.
Wow, thank you so much, guys. It's been wonderful to have you on the panel, and I've been privileged to have different perspectives, cultural differences as well. Business point of view, educational point of view, emotional point of view. It's been amazing. And thank you so much for taking part. If you have any comments, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much, everyone. And I hope to see you in the next episode. Thank you. Bye.